Hey everyone, it's Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. Tonight there was a debate between Justin Brannan and Mark Levine, both who are running for New York City Comptroller. I'll tell you that there's differences with our organization with these two candidates. One, Justin Brannan signed onto the bill 1096 this year. He signed onto the bill 1099 last year, 2020 for the 2023-24 year. He's communicated with us. He calls me. We speak. We email. He understands the issues. Mark Levine. Mark could have signed on to the bill as borough president. He has not. He didn't sign on last time. He didn't sign on this time. I've called his office. I've emailed his office. I've emailed his campaign. Crickets. And then tonight, I want you to hear the conversation. So let's go to that first.
So our news organizations, WNYC, New York One, and The City, we asked our listeners, viewers, and readers to send in questions, and we heard from a lot of folks about Medicare Advantage, including from Sarah from Yorkville and many, many others. And so we wanted to ask about this planned switch to Medicare Advantage for city employees who are retired, which paid for raises for current city workers, but has also raised an uproar among retirees who say that it will provide reduced benefits to them and has so far been blocked in court. So as the steward of the city's finances, what would you recommend the next mayor do about the promised billions of dollars in healthcare cost savings tied to past union contracts, while also getting retired city workers the healthcare they were promised? So we'll start with you, Mr. Levine.
Well, this is actually an issue that the next comptroller might have a formal role on. Presumably, new contracts would come before the new comptroller's office for review and certification. And so I will make a decision on this based on the details of the plan in consultation with retirees, with current workers, with labor leaders, and more. But I have values, and I believe that retirees should have outstanding health care. I believe they should continue to have plans with zero premiums. And I'll fight to make sure that those values endure if I'm the next comptroller.
Mr. Brannan.
Medicare Advantage is a scam. It's a step away from the privatization of health care. Retirees, whatever health care plan you signed up for on the first day you started working, that is the retirement plan that you should retire with. The city of New York should not be balancing its budget on the backs of retirees, of folks who invested the best years of their life to the city of New York. I am a proud sponsor of Intro 1096. I would love for the borough president to join me as a sponsor, which effectively blocks Medicare Advantage. We have to have a serious conversation about the cost of health care in this city, in this country. The cost of hospitalization, the cost of prescription drugs is out of control as we are all living longer, which is a good thing. But we don't save money by screwing over retirees. Medicare Advantage is a bad deal. It's a scam. And the city of New York should back off of Medicare Advantage to protect our retirees because they invested in our city and gave us some of their best years.
Very quickly, Mr. Levine.
The council member became a sponsor of this bill a matter of days ago after resisting for years and years and years. This is an 11th hour conversion for purely political reasons. I'm about substance, and I'm going to make this decision based on the facts.
Mr. Brannan.
Borough presidents sponsor and introduce bills all the time. The borough president could sign on to Intro 1096 tonight if he'd like to, but he hasn't. So I stand up for retirees. I'm against Medicare Advantage. I don't know.
Why did you wait 3 years to get on the bill?
Why don't you sign on to the bill? Great.
So very interesting conversation. First, I want to say Brannan didn't wait for 3 years. He actually signed on on 1099, and he did sign on 1096, and it wasn't like 3 days ago. It was like over 2 weeks ago. So I don't know what Mark was alluding to with that. He's not returned our phone calls. Medicare Advantage can always be offered as an option, as it has been since the 80s, but it doesn't have to be forced down your throat. I think Justice Harry Nespoli at one of our hearings in January of 2023 said, it just shouldn't be forced down your throat. Well, sir, that's exactly what you were trying to do to retirees. I think Harry must have forgot what the mission of the Municipal Labor Committee was. But this is the problem with candidates like Mark Levine not listening or having a conversation with a stakeholder. I'm a retiree. I am a stakeholder. The unions did this to us, unions that we're not in, to finance contracts to pay for raises for young working people. young working people should have raises, just not on our back. That is the problem. So if Mr. Levine wanted to have a conversation with me to understand how that this was being transpired and why there was these problems, look, you've had 2 different court cases against the city that said that Medicare Advantage is a diminished benefit to what we were promised. They certified we were promised we would have Medicare and a city paid supplement when we were hired and through our employment and through our retirement, not to be forced into a privatized Medicare Advantage plan that many of our doctors and hospitals don't accept and is riddled with prior authorization that unions were no longer in or were never in because we're managerial with the mayor of New York, Mayor's Office of Labor Relations, would control those prior authorizations, add more on if they were looking for value. As you heard Claire Levitt testify to behavioral economics in putting co-pays and deductibles on employees and retirees to save money. This is a problem. And I want to also say, after the debate that we held on April 17th, we all heard candidate Whitney Tilson say that he was in a Medicare Advantage plan and that he didn't have find any problem with being in it, and that he'd be like the snake in the grass, that snake oil, whatever he said, that he was going to be the downer on this issue because he thought that it was fine. He literally came from a Citizens Budget Commission hearing that meeting that day into our debate without ever having spoken to us. And I said, this is an opportunity, like we always say to people within the Michael Mulgrew Unity UFT realm that refuse to listen to the facts. I went up to him and I shook his hand and I said, thank you for coming tonight. I really appreciate you doing that. I really wish you had spoken to me before you came here because I wanted to give you an opportunity to educate you. Could you be willing to give me 20 minutes? And he said, yes. So I sent him our 1-pagers. I sent him some information. And he replied back to me after speaking about this issue that he had reversed his position, that Medicare Advantage should be a choice and you shouldn't be forced into it. And why? Well, because if you're going to be a fiscal person to look and make sure that the monies of city taxpayers or the city itself is being spent wisely, Medicare Advantage is not that. And if Mark is going to listen to only the unions and possibly the retirees and other people, he said, but you're not listening to me now, I have no confidence you're going to listen to me later. Mr. Tilson reversed his position, recognizing that Medicare Advantage should be an option, not something forced down your throat. He also understood that while the city was getting this plan for a period of time at no cost for premium, that it was sacking retirees with copays, and while it was at no cost to the city, it drained the federal Medicare trust fund faster because of the practices of these Medicare Advantage plans. So he recognized that it's not really a savings. It's not coming out of the city pocket, but it is coming out of the federal pocket. And this is why it's important to have conversations. Mr. Levine has never given me that opportunity. I called his office, I emailed his office, and I emailed his campaign. To date, I have not received any phone call from him. If he wants the New York City retirees, the largest voting bloc in the city, to listen that he would be a good steward of city tax monies and would honor the promises kept to a retiree because he really felt we deserved quality health care, well, then he would listen to me now as a candidate. And here's why. Mayor Adams didn't really want to have this conversation with us when he was candidate Adams. He said it was a bait and switch what de Blasio was doing, and he wouldn't do it if he was mayor, and he was going to make sure that we were protected because this was his health care. Once he became Mayor Adams, he didn't speak to us. I still, in 4 years, have never spoken to Eric Adams myself. And it's not from a lack of trying. So when they don't want to hear the truth, they can claim plausible deniability and do whatever they want. Now, Mark also said that he was a teacher for decades in the United Federation of Teachers, as is Eric Dinowitz, as also was Rita Joseph. These are 3 candidates who are loyal to Michael Mulgrew more than they are their constituents. Why? Because the only one of those 3 that actually met with us and their constituents was Eric Dinowitz. When I met with a caucus in which Rita Joseph participated in, she was very angry with us and accused us of all sorts of things that we never did. And while Eric will lie to our faces and tell us that he supports us when he doesn't, and writes about himself in the Riverdale Press as he's a wonderful guy and he supports retirees, it's not supportive of retirees when you're making them fight their own battles. This is where they're controlled or bought and bossed, as Shirley Chisholm would say, by the unions. Special interest controls these candidates. So I thank Justin Brannan for that honesty tonight and making sure that you spoke about our issue. And I want to thank all of the retirees that made sure that their voices were heard in this election season. Have a great night, everyone. And I hope you're watching and listening to who's speaking about this issue, because that will tell who really does support you and who doesn't. Have a great night.
Don't speak what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake. The decision isn't yours to make.